Zeus had your warning. Fear nothing.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack. Dire's middle barracks.
Oh! You blew it! Double damage! I'll dig that.
Dire's
Crusade
are under
continues!
Dire's top barracks have fallen. Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom barracks are under attack. Dire's bottom barracks have fallen. Dire's bottom barracks have fallen. The Radiant now have mega creeps. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Almighty one.
Dire's top tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified. The Radiant's top tower is under attack.
To the opaque world. Purification!
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower has fallen.
Healing and harm!
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Radiant's top tower has fallen. Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant's middle barracks are under attack. Radiant's middle barracks have fallen.
Time is money. The stone has reached my heart. Purified!
under attack.
I am in your healing.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I was meant to have this.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Times 3. Time is money.
now have mega cleavers. Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
I don't know where I was, but it was your glory.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen. Radiant's agent is under attack. Radiant's agent is under attack. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals between Team Mineski and TNC Pro Team. It is, of course, Michael Phoenix, joined by the one and only
Dire team ban.
John. How excited would you say you are for the final?
I'm really excited, Mike. You know, Mineski and TNC, both the top teams in Southeast Asia. Probably, yeah, both probably the top teams in Southeast Asia coming up to this grand final. It's the Epicenter XL. Unfortunately, only one team will be able to make it to the majors, and, well, one of these teams will not have a trip to Russia, unfortunately, but it's going to be a really interesting matchup, Mike. I believe both these teams have played each other a fair number of times. A lot of times, Mineski does come up on top, but we've seen TNC upset them in a few series, so this should be a fun match to watch, Mike.
No, it would be. These teams really at the top of their region right now, so, I mean, you know, obviously they're in the grand final of the closed qualifiers, so you'd expect they'd be at the top, but we just saw TNC, you know, really outdoing Fnatic, and prior to that, Mineski outdoing Geek Fam. Didn't seem hard for either team, but, you know, you put them up against each other, I mean, that's a whole different story. Now we've got the, well, we don't get to see these two teams versus each other too often, but it will be interesting to see how they clash. And one of my favorites, we do see the Earth Spirit come out as a first pickup, which, I mean, these days you don't see that very often anymore.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of faded away for the most part. When one team knows that the other side plays it well, it's usually first ban, and it's just kind of fallen out. You do see it every now and again, but the more popular picks are like what Mineski opened up with. The Disruptor is a very popular pickup nowadays. Just works out very well for team fights, and, you know, you can really chase a hero down, and, you know, the Brewmaster as well. Very safe opening for Mineski so far.
I do like the Disruptor. I do like the Brewmaster. I think both are fantastic. And, well, TNC, they go for the Razor. Another one of those heroes that just very hard to deal with in laning phase, and that seems like what this patch is all about, right? It seems like let's just dominate the laning phase, get the early start, and go from there throughout to the mid game. And so far, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better, or really better opening for either team.
Yeah, I mean, neither side's really opening stronger than the other. The Brewmaster has been a very popular offlaner, and we've seen it do a lot of work in a lot of games, Mike. The power of that split is just really strong, and if you can utilize every single panda efficiently, you can cause a lot of havoc in the middle of a team fight. The Razor as well works out very nicely against a lot of melee cores and, you know, physical damage cores. You just suck away their damage, run up to them, man up, and just start right-clicking everyone to death. It's a really good hero early on, and it does have decent scaling to late as well nowadays, so it's a fairly safe opening from both teams, and, you know, the potential for aggressive plays are there in both of them.
Yeah, definitely will be. Fifth ban now coming out from Mineski, and of course then TNC Pro Team, and of course we're very glad to see the Tinker gone. I've got to say, I'm kind of glad to see the Naga and the Death Prophet gone as well. You know, it's those heroes, they just don't seem, they're not entertaining to watch. You know, it's just, they have a very set style of playing, and if they go outside of that style, it generally doesn't work out too well. Whereas the heroes you see now, like the Earth Spirit, the Brewmaster, the Disruptor, the Razor, they can be very entertaining. Like the micro that goes into the Brew, the Earth Spirit, the skill and talent you need to have to play this hero at a god level is unbelievable. And of course the Disruptor, like the Static Storm and the Kinetic Field, the setup you need to have. If you can get a big 3 or 4 man, I mean, it's just, how do you lose a team fight if you get, you know, 3 or 4 man Static Storm and Kinetic Field? You just can't.
Yeah, I mean, Disruptor can turn team fight quite well. Very potent here, especially in really tight choke points. Glimpse is probably the strongest thing about Disruptor. You talk about Static Field, Static Storm a lot, and it is a very good spell. But early on, Glimpse is really your bread and butter. It's what lets you close the gap. It pulls people out when they're out of position for a while, you can force them back in, take them out, and it's what makes him a really potent hero in lane, I feel. That Glimpse is really strong.
Well, John, I mean, Mineski, they chose one of your favorite heroes. The Nyx Assassin comes out.
Remaining.
You really put her there? Like, are you going to last pick a position 5 now? Is that what's going to happen?
I feel like it's a bit more of a flex pickup, just to throw a little confusion to Mineski, although I guess it does work out well enough in that off lane, but then you're kind of stuck in that position, as you mentioned, where your last pick will be a support, which is kind of odd, although you do see that on occasion. The Enchantress support does still work out well. You know, the potency for ganking early on is really strong, and along with the Earth Spirit, that's just a lot of early aggression that can come out from TNC if they opt for that route, so it's rather flexible for them. They also picked up the Dragon Knight, which is a hero we've seen a lot of ourselves, Mike, and it's really strong. Provide a lot of damage, a lot of push, and durability for your team, so it's a really stable pickup for TNC. What they are lacking is really big teamfight spells. They don't have too much AoE control, and besides Earth Spirit, so that seems to be the only issue with TNC's lineup right now.
I mean, the thing is, though, the Dragon Knight that we've been seeing was from Super. I mean, that's a very specific Dragon Knight. Well, now, mind you, TNC Pro Team, of course, again, they're fantastic, but are they going to give that to Armel? I mean, is this going to be a mid DK? Because Armel, he's been playing really well in that mid position. But Dragon Knight almost seems like at his skill level right now, it feels like kind of essentially a wasted player. Like, the Dragon Knight's fantastic, but you could have a hero that requires so much more skill and could create so much more momentum in the mid lane if you are planning to put it there, I feel.
I do agree, you know, Dragon Knight's a very basic hero, but I have to say, Mike, yeah, you really shouldn't underestimate that here. I mean, sure, it's a very simple kit, it's not a complex thing to play, but if you put it in the hands of a really good player, it just really shines, and I feel like people tend to underestimate Dragon Knights. I just feel like it's a really good pick, especially in this meta. It just worked out really well. I mean, look, Mineski picked up the Nyx Assassin, but there's no real target that suffers from the mana burn too much. Dragon Knight doesn't really care. None of them really scale with Int, maybe Enchantress and Bane just a bit. It's not too big of an issue, and I feel like when they picked the Razor, it looked like they baited out the Mirana pick, because if you run that Mirana mid, of course Razor really can't do too much. Doesn't really suck too much damage away. He just can't utilize his kit as well, but if they toss DK mid, and it ends up being a Mirana mid, I mean, sure, DK also doesn't do too much, but he can get a lot more from the lane by spamming Dragonfire, Breedfire, so he should be okay in that lane, and a Razor in a safe lane's not too unusual as well. We've seen it a lot, especially in combination with the Bane, which TNC just picked up.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I mean, it was a nice little pick up in that sense, that the Mirana was basically picked to be up against the Razor. This is going to be very interesting regardless. There is the 5th pick now for Mineski, and they are taking the rest of their time here to make the choice. And I do agree with you. I mean, the Dragon Knight is very powerful, and you are right in saying it's underestimated. I do question whether it's enough, but at the same time, I look at Mineski's draft and I go, what the hell's going to kill it? And we see a sniper come out. I mean, it's a Mushi sniper. I don't like sniper too much, but when you look at the side of TNC Pro Team, I suppose the only person who can really get to Mushi on that sniper is the Earth Spirit at this point. Like, unless Armel goes for like a blink dagger on the Dragon Knight, which we've seen many times, but not specifically on him, there's really only Tims that can roll onto this this sniper.
Yeah, I do like the sniper last pick. I feel like it works out well for Mineski's draft. As you mentioned, there's no gap closers from TNC, so they won't really be able to get a good jump onto that sniper unless they depend on Tims to roll in and kick him out. But even then, that's a pretty tall task to ask from an Earth Spirit. It's going to be a very difficult time catching out this sniper, especially if he positions himself well. And you know, seeing Mushi play, he should be able to just get that perfect position going. Overall, I'd have to say, based on the drafts, Mineski, I did like the opening from TNC. I did like the Razor Dragon Knight pickup, but that last pick sniper really sways it to Mineski for me. I mean, there's really no easy way to deal with this hero with TNC's lineup.
No, it really doesn't seem that way. It's just a matter of if Mushi can find the farm that he needs. Like, if anything, they need to go on him really early on. Like, they can't wait and let him just free farm because he's just going to walk all over them. But nevertheless, John, we'll see how this game goes on. Of course, neither team is really out of the game until the ancient is down. Oh, let's call that. We of course see a pause come out immediately. I was going to say, John, we haven't seen any immediate pauses today, which was upsetting me a bit.
Yeah, it seemed rather uncharacteristic of the region, but, you know, we're greeted with it in our last series, first match for last series, so it's nice that it comes back here. Yeah,
well, let's call out the players and the drafts. We do see Jabs. He'll be on that Nyx Assassin. We do, of course, see Ice on that Brewmaster. The Sniper will be played by Mushi. We do see the Disruptor as well being played by Ninja Boogie. And finally, Moons will be on that Priestess of the Moon or the Mirana, whichever one you prefer. And John, the Dire, if you could, please.
Alright, on the Dire side for TNC, we have Cuckoo on the Bane, the Earth Spirit being played by Tims, Dragon Knight being played by Armel, Razor being played by Raven, and the Enchantress being played by Sam H.
Be an immediate smoke coming up from Mineski. And they are running the exact opposite way of where TNC are, so perhaps wanting to go for a very early first blood, which you can't blame them for, but unfortunately for them, they made a prediction it's not going to work out their way. But at the very least, they'll secure themselves 2 bounty runes, I suppose. No, they're rotating around now. No, just warding.
Yeah, nothing too much lost. Probably time wasted going back to the lanes is the big thing that we lose out on, but otherwise, you know, not a big loss for either team. I suppose they'll take it, you know. I mean, you can't really cry when you don't lose hero at this time and just securing runes. Uneventful start. It's always nice having an uneventful start every now and again.
Yeah, well, that's a fair point. We do see teams going for the block in the mid lane, and oh, they do get Ice to do the same. Hold on, there could be a potential mid Brewmaster right now. I wouldn't have been surprised. Now, it looks like Mushi will take over on the Sniper, but I was going to say, I wouldn't have been 100% shocked, you know, because the Drunken Haze is such a good ability, you know, especially against someone like the DK. Sure, he has Breathe Fire, but he can only use that so many times without a Soul Ring. But no, they will move him to the bot lane, and he is going to be up against Sam H on that Enchantress. I mean, this still seems like it works out well for Ice, but at the same time, Sam H is probably still going to be okay. Like, I can't imagine him being in any danger.
Yeah,
although speaking of danger, Jabs is actually getting rolled on right now. He does get put to sleep in the mid lane. And, I mean, is he really going to drop? He does get a nice little stun on that tier 1. Going to protect him. He is juking around as well. Can they kill the damage? Jabs, he will actually give his